Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a good one. Wanted to bring you guys a positive video today. We all need some good news. I'm going to be giving you guys my in-depth analysis in Venus's ingress into the sign of Cancer on the eve of a very kind of bumpy ride with this incoming lunar eclipse. I think we all could use some good news. I'm excited about this transit. I feel like it's going to be really helpful for the better part of the next 3 weeks in healing and working through just some of the stuff that's getting cleared out right now. And I'm pretty stoked to announce that I think it's going to actually be very beneficial for all of the 12 signs. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm a Western astrologer. I focus on working both with Western astrology, assessing the transits, using the Sabian Symbols and tarot to better understand like what's going on up in the cosmos. If you like my content, make sure you click the button below. Make sure you're subscribed. If you watch my videos regularly, make sure you click the button below. Make sure you're subscribed. I hear people get unsubscribed. I don't know what's going on with that, but I appreciate it. And if you're new, drop me a message below. Let me know where you're tuning in from, how you're feeling with these aspects, and give me a thumbs up. I appreciate it. Okay, so big news, right? Venus changing signs. Venus is finally going to be leaving the mutable air sign of Gemini, where it's definitely had some challenges. We've seen some squares to Saturn, to Neptune. Actually, Venus just getting ready to leave Gemini is just off with a bang, right? Square to Neptune, sextile to Jupiter. And we're going to see some much easier aspects as Venus moves through the skies in the sign of Cancer. So she will actually be moving into the sign of Cancer on May 7th and will be staying all the way through to 29 degrees on June 5th of 2023. Now, if you happen to be a Cancer sun, moon, or rising, or maybe you have a natal Venus in Cancer, definitely an amazing time for you, especially with some of the more harmonious aspects, some of the trines we're going to be seeing. We will see water trines intermittently throughout this transit. Equally, if you are a Venus ruled chart, so if you are a Taurus or Libra rising, definitely more beneficial for you guys as well, as Venus is your ruling planet, and to see her move into a sign that is going to be associated with femininity, with the moon, emotions. It's definitely going to be easier for you guys, as well as my Scorpios and Pisces. So in particular, you know, we're going to see some action around like the 3 to 6 degrees of the water signs. We're going to see a water trine. And then again, let's say 25 to about 27, 28 degrees as we see Venus come into a trine with Neptune. Very spiritual, amazing influences. It's going to be very sensitive, very empathic. And those of you guys who are into the healing arts, or if you work in emotional or psychological spaces, healing spaces, right? Or if you happen to be somebody who is like a Reiki healer, or you're into tarot or astrology, or you're just holding space for the collective, right? Even if you've got a 9-to-5 muggle job, these transits are going to be really, really helpful in helping heal the collective. So I'm really excited about that. So basically, you know, Venus, right? Venus being the planet of love, romance, money, beauty, art, jewelry. When planets make transits, especially when they're making prominent aspects in the sky, we may see the archetype of that planet play out in the world or in our own life. So obviously Venus has associations with femininity or women. So it's not unusual to see Venus bring up the topics that the sign she is in. So while we're focusing on, you know, pleasure and expressing our desires and our passions or our values, we will be expressing it through the lens of Cancer. And Venus influences how also we socialize and how we react to other people. So being that Cancer is a cardinal water sign, it is the second cardinal sign of the zodiac with its associations with the 4th house. Cardinal being active, right? It's assertive, but it is ruled by the moon and it's a water sign, so it is more receptive. We've seen in recent weeks Mars moving through the sign of Cancer. So there has been just this emotional kind of turmoil. There has been some moodiness, some strong reactions to the past, to our home, changes within our home and our families. So it's going to be interesting to see Venus kind of share that same sign with Mars briefly before Mars gets ready to move into Leo. But the moon in astrology, right, even though we're talking about Venus, it's in a lunar sign because Cancer is traditionally associated with the moon. The moon represents our deep personal emotional needs, our basic habits, our reactions, our unconscious, where the sun is going to be more action-oriented and conscious. So I'm going to be tying a lot of this transit, not just into the aspects, but also talking a lot about how now Venus is going to be the planet that we will look to when we are having transits in the signs, in the sign of Taurus. There's going to be a lot of Uranus aspects and a Mercury retrograde stationing, and being that Venus is the dispositor of these planets, part of the Venus aspects that are going to be made are going to be the saving grace, the support, and the emotional kind of shifts that happen as a result of these physical things that are changing out in the world. We know that Cancer has associations with our home, our roots, right? That connection to the fourth house in the natal chart is the private life, the deep womb of the natal chart, and it represents what we need in a very private, sensitive manner. So it's not unusual when we see planets transit the sign of Cancer that the topics that come up are like mortgages, where we're living, our family, making changes to the home. Maybe it's about making plans for the summer or relocation, moves. So lots of like home and family related things. Cancer also has connections to the past. And we do see some past kind of themes that are going to come up with some aspects to both Saturn and the South Node. So there can be lots of opportunities throughout this transit to forgive, to release, to heal, to let go of the past. So it's so interesting that this is going to be happening just after this lunar eclipse in Scorpio. Venus will actually kind of come in and allow us to kind of bounce back a little bit from some of the stuff that gets stirred up during a lunar eclipse. This lunar eclipse in Scorpio is a doozy for a number of reasons. So if you guys haven't already seen my videos on that, check it out. But essentially, to put it very simply, it's just kind of like this cosmic clearing out. You know, the moon being in Scorpio is going to represent this deep emotional purge and all of this toxic stuff that's kind of coming up. The moon also represents the collective. So while some of you guys might be moving through this and you understand these energies and you manage some of these really heavy Pluto, Uranus, you know, aspects well, a lot of other people are not. So I've noticed there's just been this outflowing of like messages and comments and emails that I've gotten from clients and also in sessions, just people are really feeling all of that muck kind of coming up. So on the heels of the eclipse, we have this Venus ingress and we have a lot of support literally the first couple of days of the Venus transit. So I encourage you guys to work with us, to be very mindful of where Cancer is in your natal chart. If you have not already done that, check it out. You can find a birth chart calculator online for free. You just got to put in your time, date, and your location, cast the chart, take a look at where Cancer is. That's where Venus is going to be moving through. If it's too challenging to do that, or if you don't understand, consider booking a reading with me. I'd love to chat with you guys and give you my insights on your chart. But, you know, Venus being in the sign of the moon is also significant because, you know, the North Node is in Taurus. This is a sign that's about physicality, being in the body, getting grounded, having what we need to feel safe and secure. It's a very kind of natural and getting back down to basics sign. There's a ton of planets that are in Taurus right now. So we're seeing lots of physical changes and shifts that are going on in the world. You guys have heard me talk about how this does affect our finances, our resources, but also our personal values. So it's going to be interesting to see with Venus harmonizing with some sextiles, to some of these placements in Taurus, that this rearranging that we've been doing through the Mercury retrograde physically is actually helping create more emotional security, emotional support. And whether that's just going, hey, I'm coming up with a budget so that way I feel like more safe and secure, or hey, I'm cleaning out a closet, or I'm going to be, you know, selling this excess amount of stuff so that way I feel like I'm freeing up some space and I can have more kind of balance in the home. It really depends on where you're going to have these two aspects, but just know that they're in harmony. Just know that we still got to keep an eye on what's going on with Venus until the North Node changes signs in July. So whenever there are aspects that are taking place with Venus, it's still kind of echoing back to that North Node in Taurus, which really wants us to get stable, secure in the body, and not be so out of the body, not be so shocked and surprised and disassociating, right? Because Venus really wants us to socialize. The other thing is just something I was thinking about before filming this video. I was like, how cool is it that we have so many positive aspects that are happening with Venus, even right when Venus is coming into Cancer. Yeah, that Venus square Neptune, you guys maybe caught my video where I talked a little bit about catfishing and things revolving around, you know, like needing to be aware of spotting scams. But Venus has been in a sextile to Jupiter, which is very positive, optimistic, and it really talks about this expansion, and it really wants an excess of love and fun and excitement. So we start the Venus transit off actually in a really kind of exciting way. But how cool is it that we've got all of these planets in Taurus, and obviously, you know, Taurus is the sign where the moon is exalted, right? We love to see Taurus moon in transit, or we love to see Taurus moon in the natal chart, because it does represent this sense of having a firm foundation emotionally. It's fixed, it doesn't sway. The moon can be a little erratic because it moves signs every 2.5 days. So what's interesting about this is that this is, like I said, the moon's exaltation. Obviously, we know the North Node is based off of calculations from the moon. Even though it's in transit, it's always basing off of that. And Cancer is a sign where Jupiter is also exalted. And so something that we're going to see throughout this transit is Jupiter will make his grand entrance into Taurus. So even though there is not technically a mutual reception, they're still slightly in a sextile. And I think as soon as we get Jupiter into Taurus right around mid-month, we're still picking up that energy of, look at how sweet life can be. Look at what we can grow. Look at what we can create. And the groundedness and the harmony and the stability and the resources that can come from getting back down to basics and really taking stock in what we have around the house, what we have within our family, the support systems we have, the roof above our heads, and really getting to work, but seeing that as an opportunity to grow and learn, because Jupiter can be about knowledge and education. So I think that a lot of people are really going to be more open-minded when it comes to what family looks like, you know, whether or not they start families, whether or not they move, if they add additions to home, if they are more willing to move away to other places, if they're contemplating or considering moving to foreign places because it may actually give them a little bit more bang for their buck. I've heard a lot of that recently in the last couple of weeks. And I also feel like it's really helping us expand our own, you know, emotional bodies and provide a lot more richness to the physical experience, right? So when Venus transits the sign of Cancer, we're going to notice that it's going to bring this focus on nurturing and emotional connection, security in relationships, because Venus is very much about relationships. And because of Cancer's association with water, we're going to feel a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more sentimental, and we're going to be more aware of what we need emotionally within relationships. So during this transit, you might feel that you're a little bit more drawn to spending time with your loved ones, creating a comfortable, cozy home environment. You might be more in touch with your emotions and feel the need to express them with loved ones than usual. And the transit can be, you know, associated with a desire for emotional closeness and intimacy in our home and personal relationships. So you might feel more connected to your partner, or maybe you're seeking out deeper connections with other people. It's a great time to focus on building your relationships with those who matter to you the most. And I think it may also bring a greater appreciation for art, music, beauty, and emotions, because it is moving through a sign that does deal with what may be a little bit closer to home. So like home decor, bringing art into the house, painting walls, putting up wallpaper, redoing or redesigning decks, or planting gardens. So it's adding that creative touch with the sextiles to planets in Taurus. I think this is going to create a lot of like do-it-yourself projects. I think a lot of people are going to get very creative with setting up their garden beds and how they're designing their gardens, and maybe creating social spaces revolving around the home that can be utilized all throughout the rest of this year, especially into the summer. So some of you guys are kind of getting cracking with that in May. So that way you have some beautiful spaces to be able to kind of hang out with friends and socialize. But overall, I think this is going to bring us all a little bit more of a sense of security and comfort. And so that in itself is well welcomed with some of these really strong waves of just really chaotic eclipses and transits that have been kind of beating us all up. I'm going to take you guys through the aspects that we're going to see that are the most prominent, in my opinion, throughout the next few weeks. I'm going to go date by date. And I want to start first with the ingress. Okay, so for starters, the 0 degrees of the cardinal signs, we call these the like the cardinal cross degrees. It represents the world axis points. It does initiate or start something, so there is some opportunity for growth. So starting projects, starting relationships, making commitments to things, starting art projects. These are things that we start doing during a ingress into 0 degrees of Cancer. Now keep in mind, like I said, Venus is the dispositor of Mercury retrograde now. So now it's no longer that connection to Mercury and Gemini when we had a mutual reception. Now it's, okay, we're reworking, rethinking, rebudgeting before we buy the wallpaper, or before we, go and buy all the materials to redo a bathroom. We're assessing our budget before we buy something. And so for the most part, the aspects are going to be positive. Like, you're going to see sextiles, but just keep in mind that Venus in Cancer is very much tied to this retrograde now. Now off the bat, we see Venus immediately come into a quincunx or an inconjunct with Pluto in Aquarius. Both of them are at 0 degrees. We know that 0 degrees is a very potent degree. With this aspect, there can be fears or disappointment involving relationships with other people. It can create some turbulent relationship aspects. I'm wondering if it's like about emotional relationships with friends, if it can be about dealing with some challenges in group dynamics, because Pluto is in a sign that deals with groups and others. I'm wondering if this can create some disharmony, socializing and having people within the home. But for the most part, yeah, it's an uncomfortable angle. It rubs each other the wrong way. It's a very quick moving aspect, so it's not even really enough to like sweat. But be mindful that, fear can come up. And throughout these, bumps that we might see with relationships within the ingress, it is asking us to be honest with ourselves and look for opportunities to grow. There can be fears that are rooted in lack of good boundaries and lack of positive self-esteem. Be cautious not to get pulled into, some of the dramas of other people. There can be this unconscious compulsiveness that keeps repeating in regards to our relationships with other people. So watch for getting sucked into the drama. Really examine your routines and your feelings about yourself, and see any conflict that comes up maybe as an opportunity for deeper healing. But I think it's so quick. I don't really feel like anybody's gonna pay any mind. Now, what's interesting is early in the morning, the moon will be in Sagittarius and it's going to sextile Pluto. So we're going to see a very brief yod. So off the bat, it's basically like, okay, how can we add a little bit more love? How can we add a little bit more sweetness, or create the safe, secure kind of home zone so we can be moving through some of the dramas out in the world? So we're kind of looking for security. Remember that Cancer is the crab, right? And so it will hang out in its shell. That is where it feels the safest. And also, crabs know when they've outgrown their space. They know when it's time to kind of vacate and move to the next shell and leave that shell behind for somebody else to kind of call home. So for many of us, this can feel like a period of shedding skin and outgrowing certain spaces, outgrowing certain relationships, having some dynamics with relatives where we're realizing we're getting older, and some of the power dynamics within some of our families are kind of shifting. So you may catch that intermittently through these transits. I love that the Venus-Pluto quincunx does talk a lot about relationship issues and fears coming up as a result of lack of boundaries. Okay, that's a really big lesson, because with Saturn in Pisces, we are lacking boundaries. We're aware that we need boundaries for things that we cannot see. Vibes are real. We pick up on other people's, psychic kind of drama. There is a sense of us all consciously kind of spewing a lot of stuff into the ethers right now with this eclipse that's about to go on. So it's really important, I think, to be mindful that this is such an amazing transit the first week or so, to really pick up on that and be mindful of where we need better boundaries, right? And I'll talk about that later in the discussion, but just kind of food for thought that this is going to keep coming up. Now, on the 10th of the month, we're going to see Venus move and come into a trine with the South Node. Okay, so out of 3. And it'll be like the 10th really through the 13th that we're going to see some water trines. So just know that that 3-day period, very sensitive, very emotional. We're very tapped in. Dreams and emotions can be stronger, but we have this opportunity to really release and let go. Now, when Venus trines the South Node, it does give us the opportunity to tap into our inner soul resources, because the South Node represents the past, where we've been coming from. Mars rules the South Node. And so something you guys might notice on the 10th is with this trine, we have the opportunity to go, okay, I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to let go of the grief. I'm ready to let go, giving us opportunities to heal the past, but specifically ancestral trauma and our roots, where we come from. Because we're also going to see the moon coming into close contact with Pluto and opposing Mars, flushing it all out. Guys, hot baths, hot soaks, hot water, because water is going to help us flush a lot of this stuff out. So stay hydrated. If you want to use sprays, if you want to do like ritual baths, if you want to be in a hot steam sauna, hot tubs, all of this stuff is really helpful throughout some of these transits, especially while we have Mars in Cancer. Within a couple of days, once we get to the 12th and the 13th, then we're going to see this further perfect, because we're going to see then Venus come into a trine with Saturn. Now, this is my first real, like, yes, this is a really good aspect. The trine to the South Node may bring up the fact that we just realized, like, hey, we got to let something go. But right when we're coming into late on the 12th, early on the 13th, we're going to see Venus trine Saturn. So Venus trine Saturn allows us to have commitments when it comes to love and relationships and values. It also gives us the opportunity to have better boundaries in love, home, or with our families. So we're still picking up the energy of the Venus trine the South Node, and then the trine to the Moon and Saturn. Traditionally, Moon Saturn can be like hard emotional decisions, or feeling like we have to be very guarded with our home or our emotions. But I like that it softens the blow with the trine to Venus. And I think that we're going to be realizing that it is important to have boundaries. It is important to be aware of boundaries, and that they exist not only to keep the balance and the fairness in relationships, but also to protect the relationship that we have with ourselves. Sometimes we have to make difficult decisions in order to protect our home or our hearts. And I think that the 12th and the 13th is going to be mirroring that for a lot of people. Now, on the same, at the same time, we're also seeing that Venus is forming a sextile to Mercury retrograde in Taurus. We've seen this sextile happen already, and now we're seeing it again. Basically what this means is it's like going over our needs for security. So there's a lot of like, what have I learned about the past? Am I going to repeat these same patterns? Why are these patterns coming up? And how can I learn to be better with my emotions and make the physical shifts necessary so I'm protecting myself? So there's still a lot of reassessing. What do I need? You know, how much money do I want to spend? What's going to make me feel safe? What do I value? And I think that there can be this emotional connection that can happen with this transit where we realize, okay, if I'm feeling this way, I actually need to get to work and reorganize something or have a conversation revolving around what I'm doing with my relationships, how I'm feeling. So there is this heart body connection that's taking place, especially when you're seeing sextiles between Taurus and Cancer. We're also seeing that, you know, with Venus trine Saturn, there's a lot of support that's going on. Like that is allowing us to build new friendships and gain, you know, admiration and respect for those around us. Venus is the planet of love and Saturn wants stability. So this can be a time where, you know, we're really kind of aligning, especially with, you know, therapists, psychologists, because it's in the sign of Pisces. And family, right? And elders, that's going to be something else that I'm going to be touching on. I think that there's going to be opportunities for us to connect with older relatives throughout this next week, for us to honor older relatives. We may see like family heirlooms come up this month. We might see that there are things that we're inheriting or that are being passed down, art pieces, jewelry, things that are going to be very much prized possessions within our household, and we might feel like it's a time to kind of like pass the torch. And maybe it's going to be about, you know, changing traditions or moving elderly parents in, or, you know, moving, you know, older kids out of the home, and like these coming of age aspects that we see with Venus and Saturn. Then on the 24th, actually, there's something in between here that I wanted to mention. This is just food for thought. I'll do more on this when we get to the new moon video. But we are going to have a new moon in Taurus that'll be at 28 degrees. And at the time, the ruler is going to be Venus. So Venus is still in a loose trine to Saturn. And we also start seeing Venus coming into a sextile with Mercury again. And Venus is coming into a sextile with Uranus. So keep in mind that this Venus retro, not yet, not till August. This new moon with the Venus aspects is actually pretty wonderful. We have yet to come into the Venus square Chiron. That's really, in my mind, going to be the only really bumpy aspect, and I'll get to that next. But yeah, so we're going to have a new moon that's going to be in Taurus that's going to be ruled by Venus. Okay, so now on to the 24th. And this is the date that you want to make a note of, because this is possibly or probably going to be where we're going to see the most challenges in relationships and aspects. So we've got Venus hitting 18 degrees, and it's going to square Chiron, the healer, in Aries at 18 degrees. Now, when we see Venus in aspect to Chiron, it's going to bring up issues revolving around wounds regarding money, material possessions, relationships. Once again, we have Venus in a sign related to mothers, home, family, home responsibilities, domestic stuff. And then the square to Chiron has been our own personal needs. It is an opening square, okay? And to be honest with you, I feel like the squares to Chiron are a lot easier than the oppositions or the conjunction, because this is that opening moment where we go, what do I really need emotionally? And like, why am I not doing that work? Or what do I need for my private or my home or my domestic life? And like, am I, you know, getting in my own way of being able to kind of create that atmosphere or that family or that dynamic of peace and harmony and diplomacy? And am I overreacting, or am I being selfish? I've had Chiron, transit Chiron, that's been very close to my moon, and it's also been in a square to my Venus these last few months. And these things have come up for me. It's been very much like, well, what about work, and what about personal life, and what about, you know, my relationship to certain relatives, and what was my role in that, and like, how does that bring up wounding issues? So like, I can vouch that's how this is going to be felt. 18 degrees is a difficult degree, obviously, because it does deal with health-related issues, but it can also deal with accidents or delays. And so I think I would just be mindful, especially if you happen to be a Venus ruled chart. The 24th can bring up some bumps in relationships, especially if you happen to be a cardinal sign or if you have any cardinal placements right around, like, let's say 16, 17 to 19 degrees. So if you're within like a 3-degree orb of that degree in the cardinal signs, you're going to feel the square. We may also see wounding in relationships as a result of our own egos getting in the way. We may realize that we're not prioritizing finances or relationships well, that there's like a need to kind of work some of that stuff out. Keep in mind that at the same time, we do have some harmonious aspects that's going on between Venus and Uranus. We're actually going to see Venus start sextiling Uranus the very next day on the 25th. So while that crunch kind of sucks, we have ways through it. We're able to kind of pivot and make changes. There is going to definitely be some intensity out in the skies this day, because we're going to see the Moon-Mars conjunction in Leo in the opposition to Pluto square the node. So we're already kind of looking at like, well, where is ego or pride or our own reactions or our own personal dramas coming front and center, because it's squaring the nodes. And while Venus is going through the sign of Cancer, we want to be mindful of what's going on with the moon, because the moon is the dispositor of Venus in Cancer. So when the moon and Mars come together, there's some heated exchanges. When it opposes Pluto, we feel threatened, and we've got squares happening on both sides of the node. So if you guys saw my video that I did for the horoscopes or for the monthly, I talked a lot about how the 21st, really through the end of the month of May, things get very heated. So the reason why I like to do these videos like this that are really in depth is because I want to show you that it's all connected. Astrology is interconnected. It's not just, hey, give me my horoscope for my sun sign, I don't care about anything else. Because the truth is that you may be a sign that has no association with these fixed squares, but you're still going to feel it, because we respond to what's going on with the transits because other people are going through them as well. And it's important to know that there's more to this than just looking at planets going through houses. If you start learning about rulerships and dispositors and how planets are situated in certain signs and their strengths and their weaknesses, you're going to be able to take your astrology practice to a whole next level. So even with this simple, oh, just Venus square Chiron, no, it's not just going to be that. The Moon-Pluto oppositions, the squares to the nodes, and really the key here is that we have to be more flexible, more willing to make changes, and maybe that's with our spending habits, maybe that's with where we're living. We're going to see Venus and Uranus hit 19 degrees. So Uranus is now coming into new territory because it has been retrograde and now it's direct, and it's moving past that 18 degrees finally. So when Venus and Uranus are in a sextile to each other on the 25th, exciting changes in relationships, sudden inspiration, opportunities to socialize, get out and about and do new things. So that's kind of the saving grace in the midst of what is some rather intense, situations with some of the fixed squares that are setting up. Then I'm going to take you guys to the 2nd of June. And on the 2nd is when we're going to see Venus come into a trine with Neptune. So where earlier in the transits in May, the Venus trine Saturn was building the foundation, solidifying, coming up with the plan, making the commitments. Now we've got Venus that's going to be in harmony with Neptune. So this is going to allow us to have more opportunity for just opening, right? You want to think of Venus like a flower. So there is a blossoming and a blooming and opening up to love or abundance or security. So with Venus trine Neptune, this is going to give us, I think more opportunity to feel like our dreams are coming true, that we are falling in love. There is romance. There is this dreamy, inspired, connected, compassionate vibe that's out there. I love that it's going to be setting up with a moon in Scorpio. So once again, we're going to see another water trine. If you guys remember when earlier in May, when Venus was like around 5 or 6 degrees, it was trining Saturn and the moon. So we get a south node and a lunar trine, a grand water trine, with both Venus trine Saturn and Venus trine Neptune. there's something really magical about these days. So once again, you guys want to be watching for the like 12th and the 13th ish. It's going to be late on the 12th, early on the 13th. And then you also want to be looking at June the 2nd. Those are the days that are going to be very spiritual, very dynamic. And I think it's wonderful also for just meditation, inspiration, creating, drawing, painting. If you want to be doing, you know, divination work, or if you're looking to go and get like healing work done, if you want to get like Reiki sessions, or if you want to go and do like retreats, or if you're wanting to go and do like a deep dive with like a therapist, those days are wonderful days as well. Like I said, this is a well-welcomed transit after what's been some kind of chaotic stuff. And it does soften the blow of some of the more challenging aspects at the end of May. However, this is the sweet spot right before things start to kind of kick up a little bit again. Once we're getting into like early June and then July and August, Venus will move actually into the sign of Leo on the 5th. So right when she's getting ready to leave, she'll hit 29 degrees, which we know is a pivotal degree. And then she's going to hit 0 degrees of Leo and immediately come into an opposition with Pluto. So what I'm planning on doing is when I do the Venus through, you know, Leo, I'm going to do a video on that, but I'm also putting together a webinar. So I'm calling that like cruel summer, because some of the aspects with Venus retrograde and Venus square Uranus, and we start the Venus transit with a conjunction to Mars and an opposition to Pluto. Let it be known, summer of 2023 is going to be drama, major drama. Financially out in the world, we're going to see drama in Hollywood. I think we're going to see some shocking situations also with the markets, and we're going to see some really unusual trends that are happening with like art and music. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to put that information out on my website if you guys want to join me for one of my live webinars. I go really in depth and talk about past patterns, what I'm predicting, and also how it's going to affect you guys, especially if you're like, hi, I have planets that are going to be within the retrograde, because the retrograde will actually go from about 28, 29 degrees, and it's going to retrograde all the way through Leo. I think it's going to drop to, I don't even know. I want to say it's like the early, you know, first like 10 degrees. So it's going to hit a lot of Leo. So stay tuned for that. But I guess what I'm getting at is that this is a sweet period right now. This is going to be something that you guys want to work with. Some themes that kind of came to mind for me with these transits because of the aspects to the South Node, because of these aspects to Saturn. Probably the first thing for me is just building solid foundations emotionally. What do you have to do to create that routine? I'm going to keep telling everybody while Saturn is in Pisces, develop a solid meditation routine, okay? And meditation's gonna be different for everybody. You don't have to go to some several day meditation retreat to learn transcendental meditation. If you wanna do that, awesome, because Saturn is structures. So we wanna be structuring what we're doing when we are resting, recuperating, or reflecting. For some people, you know, their meditation is painting, or it's playing music, or it's going for a run. So I'm not going to dictate what is and is not meditation. I'm just going to tell you, use these transits as an opportunity to focus on building a solid emotional foundation. Do you have to start, you know, setting a time that you go to bed at night? Do you have to come up with a routine where you're doing a little bit of yoga, you know, when you get up in the morning? For me, because, you know, Cancer deals with the home and Saturn can deal with the bedroom, there is this sense of being like, okay, emotional house cleaning, physical house cleaning, organization, having boundaries with who is coming in and out of your home, and, you know, where work time starts and like where home and family time begins. And having those boundaries, because there can be a blurring of the boundaries that are going on right now. And I think maybe it's about really finding ways to start your day or to start some of that emotional balancing within your home space or within your family. And if you need to take time to start working on this stuff, and ask for that, you know, 15 minutes alone in the morning of peace, or taking that long soak once a week, that's really where like the magic begins. And like I said, boundaries make better relationships, not with just other people, but also for yourself. And so what's challenging with the Saturn is in Pisces is that we can lose ourselves, and we can start to see a dissolving of boundaries. And maybe this transit is going to make us realize that boundaries are necessary, and it's a part of loving ourselves and creating those necessary like walls. So we're protecting ourselves, protecting our home, protecting our hearts. It's really important with Cancer to be tapping into what you need to feel safe. So for some people, it's physical safety, right? Those sextiles to Taurus is, hey, we're going to make some new investments. We're moving money around. We're taking cash out. We're going to start learning how to can or preserve food, planting a garden. I could definitely see that for a lot of people. But I also feel like this could manifest as people going, we want more space, we want more land, we want, fencing, or we want security systems, or we need locks on the door, or, things that are going to be about protecting the family, protecting the home, or protecting the homeland. You're going to hear a lot about that over the next week or two. Healing ancestral karma, especially watching Venus go through a sign that is associated with the fourth house, the home, the roots, the past. And the past is very much connected to the South Node, right? And the completion of things is very much connected to Saturn. So what if I told you guys that you had an opportunity here the first half of May to finally go, I'm putting an end to this pattern. Okay, especially if you're seeing reoccurring patterns happening emotionally that's passed from like mother to daughter or father to son, or if you're seeing something that's just a reoccurring theme in the home that you're wanting to shift and you're wanting to change, and finally saying like, that's it kind of stops here. And that willingness and that awareness is everything. And I think Venus comes in and brings the love or the sweetness or the assistance to help us finally kind of heal that wound. So I like the trines to the South Node for seeing, therapists and working with trauma specialists and working with shamans and working with mediums and psychics. I like the trines to Saturn to work with hypnotists and past life regression therapists, and to be working with people who also can work in these private spaces. So there can be lots of support that can be coming from the healing community right now. I really feel like this is going to be allowing us to do this work necessary and focus on building homes within ourselves. I'm all about making lemonade, so I feel like the Mars in Cancer transit, while it's short while Venus is here, it is making aspects as well to the Sun and slightly to Uranus. So it's going to have us thinking about what physical changes do we need to make when it comes to home. And so yes, some people are going to be thinking about moving or buying homes or exchanging homes or finding real estate agents or new roommates. Some people are going to be considering moving to places that they've never lived before. They're getting more adventurous. But really, I think it's also going to teach us that like home is where the heart is. And home can be wherever we decide for it to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be a city or a place or a person. We might be focusing on taking those small little, objects or pieces of art or things that we really value with us and be able to kind of build a home just about anywhere. Interior design, I really like the trines to Saturn. I joked in previous videos about like wallpaper, because you guys know wallpaper is just like a nightmare. But if you need to do something that requires like precision and you really want to make sure that you line all of the wallpaper up, and you're making that commitment because Saturn is like glue, and you're like, I really want to make sure I like this because it's going to be here for a long time. Same with buying houses, right? Or if you guys are buying furniture, or if you're making investments into art pieces you're bringing into the home, there is an opportunity to be able to really blend Venus's sense of style with Saturn's sense of commitment and refinement. And so some people might make some big decisions in home purchases or home design commitments, relationships, that can take place, especially through the beginning of the transit. Then when we get to in June, when Venus trines Neptune, it's, we've created this like a beautiful, relaxing environment, and it's this like little, Zen space. And I think we're going to see the importance of that actually for the next couple of years while Saturn is in Pisces. And as Saturn is getting closer and closer to Neptune, we have to be focusing on creating our own little world. We have to be focusing on creating that sphere of protection. I joke, I call it like our dojos or our temples, somewhere where we can just zen out and feel like we have safety and security and kind of shelter from some of the stuff that's going on out in the world. So as some of this stuff is getting more intense out there, we need places that we can like take shelter. We also need relationships that we can take shelter within as well. Look for those wise women in your life. I think because Venus is that embodiment of a woman, and Venus coming into a trine with Saturn can be really wise sisters and aunts and stepmoms and, you know, mentors and teachers and people who can teach us about being strong from an emotional perspective and what it means sometimes to make the difficult decisions or the difficult choices. Some of us may find that we have opportunities to like drive grandma to a doctor's appointment or, you know, help mom with relocating or moving into a space. And while that sounds like it might be a lot of work, Mars is in Cancer, can help us get it done. But with the Venus trines to Saturn and Neptune, it may present us with lots of opportunity to gain insight and to get perspective and to get guidance and wisdom that's coming from some of these older women, you know, in our lives or even out in society. I was watching a video the other day and it was just somebody that I follow. It's kind of funny because she lives on a farm and she's got a bunch of like animals and she's always like talking about her perspective with what's going on in the world. And she was talking about all of these tips and tricks that her grandmother had because her grandmother obviously survived through the war, and she was like, I'm going to share all these like tricks with you. And she talks about how grandma would save tinfoil and wash it, put it in a drawer, and all of these different like kitchen hacks and things for being able to wash Ziploc baggies and all of this stuff. And some of us who, you know, especially like millennials might laugh and be like, just get another piece of tinfoil. What it represents is that sense of, you know, being frugal and doing the most with what you have and having appreciation for what you have and being strong and being willing to do the work to kind of hold down the home and the family. Very different than what we have right now. So I think that there can be lots of opportunities similar to, you know, like I said, listening to that podcast where we can get some insight as to how difficult it was, you know, 40, 50, 60 years ago or even longer to raise children, have a family, have a house, you know, be focusing on, you know, working through, you know, crisis and being able to stay together as a family unit. So look for those little bits of wisdom that might be coming from grandma throughout this next week or two. And I think that whenever I see Venus in a trine to the or making an aspect to the South Node or even to a South Node Saturn, I think of the joys of sacrifice, the things that we're willing to do for love, the price that we pay for love, the price that we pay for family, the fact that we do it and we take pride in it because it means that we're taking care of our kin or that we're beautifying our home and we're taking pride in how the lawn looks, or we're taking pride in what we've been able to build or achieve. So watch for those moments where it's all going to be about how you look at it. It's going to be about the work that you're putting into your family or your property or your relationship. And that work doesn't necessarily need to be physical labor. Sometimes it's just a matter of sitting down and talking about your feelings and making the time to be open and vulnerable and make commitments to long-standing relationship or financial changes, okay? All right, so I'm sure you guys want to know who this is going to affect the most. Obviously, my Taurus and my Libra risings, this is going to affect you guys the most. Also, sun and moons. But if you happen to be a Taurus or a Libra rising sign, Venus is your chart ruler, so you're going to be feeling this very strongly. Also, Cancer, sun, moon, rising placements, because Venus is going to be going through this sign, so it can bring you more beauty, more romance, more opportunities to socialize, and you might just feel like you're just connecting to people very divinely and that things are falling into place. So you want to watch for that. I'm going to give you the tarot and rising sign predictions for each and every one of the 12 signs. As a reminder, this is the whole sign prediction that I'm going to be using. So you want to listen to your ascendant sign first, then your sun, and then your moon sign. I am a Western astrologer. I'm not a Vedic astrologer. I use Western astrology techniques. And I will be talking to you about which house Venus is going to move through, what my predictions are for you, and then I'm going to be reading the tarot as well. I'm just realizing I forgot to read you guys the Sabian symbols. Okay, I have to do that because they're important. So sorry for the jumbled mess, but let me make it quick. I was looking at the symbols, right? Especially the days where we see Venus trine Saturn at the mid-May point, and then Venus trine Neptune. And I didn't look at them until after I wrote everything that I wanted to kind of lecture about with this transit. But then when I read them, I was like, wow, this is really amazing. So let me read it to you guys really quick. We've got Cancer 6 degrees, okay? no, excuse me, Cancer 7 degrees. So you guys know when we read the Sabians, we're going to round up. Okay, so the actual trine will be at 6, but we're going to read 7. So this is page 127 in the Sabian Symbols book. Cancer 7, 2 fairies on a moonlit night. And the theme is unifying magic. The symbol speaks to transformation, lightness of the heart, the need for every individual to take a break to do something useful and relaxing when functioning under stress or strain. The image of 2 fairies on a moonlit night alludes to the healing power of nature and the hidden unifying magic behind all things. The emphasis here is on imagination as a springboard to self-realization, on a quiet reflection as the path to understanding and inner peace. On a practical level, the symbol may indicate granting a wish. Watch for intuitive awareness of what needs to be done in order to maintain proper balance and restore a situation to wholeness. The accent is on magic, release from pressure, stress, or healing in some situation. Condition brings welcome relief. Romance is in the air. Your greatest advantage lies in using your creativity and imagination and following your intuition. Believe in miracles. Guard against refusing to look at a situation for what it really is or telling yourself it'll go away if you refuse to recognize it. Don't let someone pull the wool over your eyes by telling you what you want to hear. Stepping stones is imagination, magic, fantasy, illusion, wishes, dreams, vision, inspiration, and transcendence. It connects so very much to that Moon Saturn trine. So I'm curious to see what manifests on the 13th. And then for the other trine that we're going to experience, that's going to be closer to the, I think it was the 2nd, Venus trine Neptune. There we go. So that's going to be, the trine is at 27 degrees, but I'm going to be reading for you guys 28 degrees. Cancer 28, a modern Pocahontas. The keyword is compatibility. The symbol speaks to cooperation between the old and the new, conventional and experimental. The image of a modern Pocahontas symbolizes self-integration, flexibility, acceptance of ideas, traditions, and customs of others. It also alludes to the broad-mindedness and the ability to function effectively on more than one world at once. At its highest, it represents the ability to bring attention to forgotten or neglected values and ideals that demonstrate their usefulness for enhancing present-day living. Watch for a refusal to release the past from foolish clinging on to worn-out traditions and the inability to cope with change. The accent is on progress, advancement, bringing things to date, or looking at things in a new way. Your advantage lies in recognizing when to do things the way that you have always done them or not, and if it's holding you back and ruining your chance for happiness, be willing to make the necessary changes to move forward. Stepping stones would be synthesis, cooperation, union, broad-mindedness, alliance, accord, progress, and growth. Don't live in the past because you're afraid to deal with change. Change is the name of the game, guys. We're going to have a bunch of planets coming into conjunction with Uranus. So, all right, on to the 12 signs. Thank you for letting me read that. But I mean, come on. Those are so bang on. It's just, it's wild. It's super wild. Okay, so let's look at this from the aspect of that Venus trine Saturn. And we'll take it through the 12 signs. Let me change this over really quick. So let's start with Aries and Aries rising. What's up, guys? So you're going to be seeing Venus make this transit through Cancer for about 3 weeks or so. It's going to be going through, your 4th house, which relates to home, family, past, domestic zone, right? Venus rules your 2nd house of money and possessions, your 7th house of partners and others. Changing houses, buying or selling houses, looking at property, possibly like talking to decorators or architects, builders, talking to partners, talking to family about what they want or what they would need when it comes to a home. I think that for you guys, especially watching the Venus trine Saturn and the Venus trine Neptune, I mean, definitely a lot of what I was talking about applies in terms of creating that safe space. It is possible, though, that there is a sense of really reevaluating resources and what you can spend and what you do have or what you don't have. For some of you guys, it can be the willingness to kind of let something go and what you have to gain. So I could see some people assessing the value of their home and wondering if it's like time to sell their home and then make a decision pretty soon about where you're going to go. It can manifest literally as Venus coming into your 4th house, where there is a partner coming to stay with you, or you're talking to a partner about buying property, or a relative is coming to visit, or maybe you're spending more time with your family, okay? So watch for that sweetness to be coming through with your home and your relationships. The 4th house can have associations also with the mother as well. The card that I got for you is the Page of Cups. So this can be talking about a Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio type of individual. Somebody who is younger, sweet, dreamy, sensitive, somebody who is also very open to emotional connections. Sometimes this card comes up as like an offer or the beginning of a romantic connection. I love with this transit with Venus in the 4th house of like having like romantic dinners at home, or maybe being able to like, you know, like soak outside in a tub and you know, spend time with a significant other. It can be a time where you're just focusing on enriching the relationship that you have with like a younger person. So it can also be about children, because pages can often represent that. But at the very least, it's being more so emotionally open and sensitive and reception and being more receptive to connecting with other people, okay? Good luck, Aries. That is pretty expected for your transit. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. What's going on, Taurus? We have your chart ruler, Venus, moving through the sign of Cancer for about 3 weeks, hanging out in your natal 3rd house. Now, Venus rules your 1st house of the body, okay? So this can be about you actively communicating and speaking more sweetly to other people. It can enhance relationships that you have with relatives, specifically female siblings, or aunts, or female cousins. It can have you beautifying like a car, and like detailing cars or buying things for vehicles that make them more attractive or comfortable. It can also have you just speaking very sweetly. So just focusing on communicating in soft, more nurturing ways. Venus also has connections to your 6th house. So I could see this as like you asking if you can be more so helpful in some way. I'm looking at Venus trine Saturn, and I feel like this is possibly going to be about you receiving more positive feedback from friends, people calling you, checking in with you, seeing how you're doing. There is opportunities for travel. This travel can be taking place with friendships or romantic partners. So if you're in a committed relationship, Venus in the 3rd is a wonderful time to plan a trip, go somewhere, get out of town. It can be a road trip, or it can be somewhere that is going to provide like health or like relaxation, or like health spas. That can be something else that can kind of come up for you as well. I'm really loving that you're going to have so many positive aspects to your ascendant or your sun or your moon, because having Venus still sextile your ascendant has similar qualities of having Venus on the ascendant. It does tell me that you might just enjoy getting around town and you know, connecting with people more than usual, exploring new places. Especially like if you want to go to like new dog parks or health spas, or if you're looking to go and find like a new hairdresser, or somebody who can provide you with some kind of service. Likely you're going to find one, and that recommendation may come from a friend. I also like the trines to your 7th house south node, because it makes me feel like there's an opportunity to clear up a lot of misunderstandings and miscommunications with partners, which likely has been happening with a Mercury retrograde in your sign. As Venus continues to keep moving forward, it's also going to be sextiling Uranus, and I just want to remind you that this is about changing direction in how you communicate, perhaps even at work. And so there can be opportunities for you to be like, oh, do I want to start a blog? Do I want to start writing a book? Do I want to start teaching a class? And you can start doing that when you have Venus in harmony, both with the North Node, but also with Uranus. So some of you guys might consider doing something like that over the next few weeks. The card that I get for you is the Page of Swords. Oh, this is going to be a page kind of reading. I can tell everybody's starting something new. witty, communicative, but also inspired. And this is about messages and chatty and communication. I love Venus here. So Venus in the third house is picking up that energy of communication and chit chat. Great time to be like writing thank you notes, love letters, you know, really sweet calls maybe that you're making to a partner or to relatives. And I think this is just going to be about more expressing what you love, how you want things, what you prefer, what your you know, favorites are going to be just in general, because it's about preferences. But I feel like that pleasure can come from writing or sharing or communicating. So especially those of you guys who are like, I want to start writing a book, or I want to start creating a YouTube channel, or I want to start a blog. I really recommend doing that, because it looks like the Page of Swords is indicating that it's something that's going to be initiated. Okay, good luck, Taurus. For my Gemini rising, what's going on, guys? You're going to be having Venus transiting your natal second house for about 3 weeks here pretty soon. Oh boy. Okay, so Venus is very comfortable in the second house. This is traditionally like a kind of like a Taurus-based house. So when Venus moves into the second house, it can bring more resources, more money, more food, more sweets, more jewelry, more gifts, more spending. And you're like, no more spending, because Mars has been in your second house. So there's been money going out possibly, but Venus can be about money coming in and what you're gaining. So I wonder if you've been having to spend some cash because you're investing, or you're buying gifts for friends' parties, or you're investing in your health, spending money on, you know, maybe adding fitness-related things to your home. Here comes Venus, and Venus is now basically saying, okay, now we're gonna enjoy it. So whatever you've been spending money on or investing or creating, maybe now it's going to bring you some sense of enjoyment, or it's gonna bring you some sense of abundance. Now, Venus is going to be making trines to Saturn in the 10th. So I could see this as like actually having increased salaries or getting bonuses and bringing more money in, because Saturn rules 8th house of joint resources, and Venus rules your personal talent. So there can be a sense of like, finally you're getting the recognition that you deserve. You're starting to get the payoff that you deserve. And after a period of a lot of money going out, now money is coming in. Venus rules the 12th house, so this also makes me feel like some of you guys are really tapping into your inner creative abilities, or something you've been working hard on behind the scenes. Now you're getting ready to present, and it can actually bring more resources in. But as Venus goes through the second house, it can also be a time where we're indulging more. So being in the sign of Cancer, I wonder, like, are you buying televisions? Are you you know, investing more into like your kitchens? Are you having to spend more money on children? Are you buying a significant other, you know, a nice housewarming gift, right? And it can be art too, as Venus is going through the second house, art, jewelry, that kind of stuff. For the most part, you know, like I said, it's positive for all of the signs. So I like that Venus has left your sign and now it's coming into your second house, and you're like, okay, it's time to get paid, or it's time to really focus on reinvesting in myself. This is all about self-esteem. So if you guys have been doing a lot of work on that department, or if you've been doing some money magic, money manifestations, you know, meditations revolving around abundance, you may start to see that finally physically show up, okay? And if you need to also make positive health changes, or cutting out foods, or cutting out certain habits, that trine to the South Node is going to help you do it. The trine to Saturn is going to help you feel on top of it. Let's see what the cards have to say for you, my Gemini. Ooh, there was two cards that came up there. The first, I'm going to read the top one, but the other one's interesting. So you get the Six of Cups. And this is like a really sweet, loving, feeling, kind of dreamy, inspired card. Nostalgia, childhood memories, feeling more sentimental, pleasure, comfort, gifts, very much Venus in the second house, right? But the card that came up with it was Death reversed. Resistance to change, inability to change, repeating old patterns, decay, and stuck in your ways. So I'm wondering, is this about you learning to receive? Is this about you learning to say, thank you, yes, I'll take that, and I'll take some more? So it's not just about abundance and manifestation. It's also about the willingness to receive, staying open and saying, thank you. Yes, I do. I will take the assistance. I will take the compliment. I will take the bonus. And I think that the Six of Cups is also talking about pleasure, right? So making sure that you're also indulging and enjoying the time that you have off. Saturn in your 10th house can be feeling like it's all work and no play. So you have a nice little moment in time here where it's okay to treat yourself. Good luck, Gemini. We got Cancer and Cancer rising. What's going on, Cancer? I'm curious to see what this feels like having Mars and Venus both in the same sign. Now, they're not going to be conjunct. We are going to see them get closer as they get both into the sign of Leo. But still, you know, having the star-crossed lovers, you have your 10th house Lord Mars and your 4th house Lord Venus sitting in the first. So very passionate, very emotional, maybe realizing that it's like really time for you to set up, show up, and really get to work when it comes to your career and also your home or your family. And everything is just kind of like sitting on you right now. The beauty of having Venus go through your first house, if you're a Cancer rising, is that it does bring more love, appreciation, attention, and nurturing your way. You will notice that you are going to be feeling much more sensitive, but also you're going to possibly be feeling like you need a little bit more affection or attention, or you're willing to give that. It may mean that you're adding a touch of design or beauty to your home space. It may mean that you're receiving a lot of love and support and encouraging words from friends or other people, like groups, because you're seeing lots of sextiles from all of this Taurus in your friendship zone or your goal zone sitting on your ascendant. My advice with this transit, because it's really picking up the 4th house and the 11th house, is this is about being generous with others. This is about being like, I'm making dinner, come over, I want to feed you. You know, it's about saying to your family, you know, I really love you, let me give you a hug. It's about loving yourself when Venus goes through the first house. You know, when Venus is in a cardinal sign, love is a verb. So actions really tie into the first house. So where are you taking action in your relationships? Are you loving yourself, pampering yourself, nurturing yourself? Are you being kind to yourself? Buy yourself some flowers, right? Allow yourself to indulge a little bit. And if you need to focus on ways to make yourself feel more comfortable in your own skin or in some new clothes or, you know, some new beauty treatments, definitely consider doing that. I love to see Venus in harmony with Saturn in your 9th house, because I feel like you can be actively pursuing new rituals, learning new things, new philosophies revolving around love. Love can very much be found at a distance or at an airport or, you know, within a college classroom. It can mean that, you know, you're falling in love with the idea of a new spiritual philosophy and routine. Venus is trine to the South Node, definitely wants to heal a broken heart or release or let go of past hurt. And when all of these placements come together, they're activating what are known as typically fire houses, the 1st, 5th, and the 9th, which is about life. So the fact that you have Cancer and Scorpio and Pisces in these houses means that you are actively showing more emotion. You're actively responding to your emotions, and you're letting your emotions or your intuitive kind of feelings guide the way. Especially when it comes to how maybe, you know, you're learning to use love as like your philosophy, your belief system. And, you know, there might be teachers and meditation teachers or therapists or gurus and people who come in to kind of help you better, not just nurture your physical body, but also your emotional body as well. Okay. Let's take a look and see what the cards have to say for you. The card that I get is Justice. So this is cool because, you know, Venus has its associations with Taurus, but also with Libra. And Venus rules your 4th house, which is Libra. I think this is going to be like finding the balance within yourself where it's lacking in your relationship to other people. So whether you're not feeling that balance in romantic relationships, you're not feeling that balance with family. Justice talks about justice, fairness, universal law, karma, truth being revealed, accountability, and consequences. So Accountability can be a huge theme when you have Venus on your ascendant. It can be this moment where you're like, nobody's going to love me better than myself. Or if I don't take care of myself, then, you know, how is anybody else going to see what I need as well? Perhaps maybe you're weighing out, you know, your options when it comes to relationships. With Venus trying the South Node, if certain relationships aren't making the cut, you may decide to do that. But I feel like this is more about getting yourself into a sense of balance and like learning how to be more gentle and loving with yourself. Okay. Good luck, my Cancers. We have Leo and Leo rising. What's going on, Leo? You're going to be experiencing Venus's transit through the sign of Cancer, through your natal 12th house. The 12th house is hidden, secret, subconscious. This is where things go to kind of end or to hide or to resolve themselves. So having both Mars and Venus in your 12th house is interesting because there can be this feeling of having like a whirlwind fairy tale relationship with somebody behind the scenes, or that something needs to be kept very private, or that there's something going on private about your home or your family relationships that is not visible yet. Venus has connections to your 3rd house of communication and also your 10th house of career. So for a lot of you guys, especially if you're involved in like the arts, film, creativity, you know, if you have businesses that might have like foreign clients or foreign connections, a Venus transit here is very positive for you. I do feel like Venus in the 12th house, it can bring up like secret admirers. It can bring up people who are also, you know, working behind the scenes for you, editing, creating, developing, piecing things together. There can be a lot of like working hard and working late at night. There can also be lots of like bedtime pleasures, having Mars and Venus in the 12th house, lots of movie nights, dates at home, romantic dinners at home, and having an opportunity to just kind of escape and hide away with a romantic partner. Some of you guys might be saying, hey, I've just got so much work going on. I can't really take like a longer period of time off to go on a vacation, but what if we do an overnight somewhere, we get out of town briefly? Some of you guys may have some secret conversations or pillow talk with partners because of Venus's connection to your 3rd house. Sisters, siblings, female neighbors, stuff like that can be coming up. Maybe there can be a sense of like if you've just recently moved or if you've just recently started working somewhere new, a little unsure about connecting with some women in the workplace or within the neighborhood, but you may actually start mingling with them and realize that they're kind of interesting. Those of you guys who have the opportunity to travel with Mars and Venus in the 12th house, it's wonderful. But honestly, I feel like you guys are so busy with work. I don't know if you're going to swing it. That's just me. And I like that Venus is going to trine Saturn in your 8th because it is teaching you that there is an importance to value things when you have it, to value relationships and people when you have it. It's kind of a reminder with Venus trine Saturn that at some point all good things come to an end. So whether it's the end of a relationship, the end of a job, if it's the end of the bag of cookies, whatever, there is a sense of kind of acknowledging like, yeah, you know, I loved it, but it's time to let this go. And so there can be some bittersweet things coming up for you right now in regards to changing jobs, changing homes, letting go of like, you know, certain relationships that you're outgrowing. But for the most part, I think that it's going to give you an opportunity to kind of just escape and be away from it all and find some time to just really, you know, kind of bounce back and rest in between all of this like work that you've got going on in your chart. Let's take a look and let's see what the cards say for you. The card that I get is the Ace of Wands. This is a sexy card. So Ace of Wands is new projects, inspiration, growth, enthusiasm, energy, passion, and creativity. So I love that you've got Venus, which is very creative in the 12th house. So maybe you're creating behind the scenes. But I think this is about being like, I also need romance and I need adventure and I need to, you know, kind of go and explore and not feel like it has to be so just all work and no play. All that energy in your 10th house of Taurus is supporting the transits in the 12th. So even if you're not going anywhere right now, it might be something that's kind of coming up closer to June or July when the Sun and Mercury eventually is making its way into Cancer. So if you're planning a trip, right, that can be something that you can be doing, but it does look like this is bringing a significant spark to either your sex life or your creative projects. Good luck. For Virgo and Virgo rising, we have got Venus moving through the sign of Cancer in your natal 11th house of friends, networks, goals. And Venus has connections to your second house of money and prosperity, and also to your 9th house of philosophy, travel, education. When Venus moves through the 11th house, we have more sweetness that comes in the form of parties, gatherings, get-togethers, and groups. In the sign of Cancer, I wonder, like, is there going to be friends that are in town, you know, visiting their family, and you can get together and go and grab a drink or have, you know, dinner with them? Are there friends that are celebrating that they are, you know, having a child, getting married, moving into a new home? Is there going to be like family meals and dinners and stuff that's coming? That's possible. And Venus's connection to your 9th house, which can be people who are traveling, or maybe you're traveling with friends. I'm watching Jupiter go into your 9th in a retrograde here. Maybe there can be news that you're going to be moving or relocating, and you're sharing that news with friends, and they're very open and receptive to that. There can be also opportunities for professional networking because Venus has connections to your resources. So friends deem or prove to be very valuable, and they may have some connections in like helping you find new leads for work, or maybe even giving you some kind of recommendation in the love department, or recommending what kind of a gift you should get a romantic partner. And you've got Venus that's going to be in trines both with Neptune and Saturn in the 7th house. So at the very least, you're enriching your relationships with other people. Whether this is the first beginning process of like a significant other, you know, meeting your friends and like being like, hey, this is my boyfriend or my girlfriend, or that you're, you know, getting married and there's celebrations that you're having with other people. Friends can set you up with people as well. So if Saturn is hitting you hard in your 7th house, the Saturn trine Venus can be going to a party, meeting someone, or a friend wanting to set you up, because Saturn deals with true love. You'll also see Saturn trine the South Node. So there can be a sense of like reconnecting with relationships or friends who you haven't seen for a while. If you're on the other side of the spectrum with the Saturn transit and you're one of those Virgo risings who's coming out of a difficult relationship, or you're going through a breakup, really reaching out and communicating and connecting with friends may be exactly what you need. There can be excellent times to be had, and lots of really good advice that can also come from some of those hangouts between the two of you. Let's take a look and see what the cards say for you. Especially when Venus trines Neptune, I feel like that can be an excellent time to be like socializing. I mean, Mars is there already right now, so definitely like you need good friends around you. That's so important. The card that I get is the Ace of Swords. So this is about new beginnings and opportunities in communication, breakthroughs, new insights, new ideas, mental clarity, and success. I feel like for some Virgo risings, this is going to be the friend that's just going to like kind of just slap you around a little bit and be like, get it together. And if you're having issues emotionally, or if you're having issues with a relationship, especially with Saturn making these trines, like friends and partners can be judgmental of each other, but there can also be a sense of one or the other looking out for your best interest. So if you're introducing someone to your friends and they're like, I don't know, they're looking out for your best interest, and vice versa. But I think there can be opportunities for really excellent communication, which makes sense because, you know, Mercury's sextile throughout these transits. Mercury is your chart ruler. Can be that you're talking to friends about your belief or your philosophy about relationships. You're getting good advice perhaps from people who have been there. And the Venus sextile your ascendant is bringing more love and harmony also to you. So speak up, say something, ask for assistance, communicate, share some of your ideas. I wonder if this is going to be about what you're learning or what you're writing or where you're traveling, or maybe if you're thinking about publishing or teaching a class, because of Venus's connection to your 9th house, and Jupiter is going there soon. So you might have some exciting news that you're sharing with your friends, that you're taking a new course, or you're traveling somewhere, or you're getting ready to start like writing something, okay? Good luck, Virgo. We've got Libra and Libra rising. What's going on, Libra? So we have Venus moving through the sign of Cancer in your natal 10th house of career. Obviously, this is important for you, Libra, because Venus rules your chart. So Venus rules your first house of your appearance and your body, and your 8th house of joint resources, other people, change, and transformation. Well, when Venus moves through the 10th house, similar to all of the signs, she's bringing some kind of sweetness to that particular area in your chart. Venus moving through the 10th house is winning the support and appreciation of superiors, of others, right? This is the house of your public reputation. So to watch Venus move through the 10th house, it's basically saying you are busy, you're busy at work. That is true because you've had Mars in your 10th house. But now it's like you're reaping the rewards, the appreciation. There can be better business deals, better dealings with bosses, with parents, more opportunities also to bring in resources and support. And the reason why is because you have Venus being connected to your 8th house. So the changes that you're making with your like joint resources, the changes that you're making with how you look at your value, how you're making shifts in regards to also your time, because Venus is going to trine Saturn, is definitely paving the way for maybe higher quality work, especially if you're in a Cancer related field. So if you do work with women, mothers, real estate, anything in regards to like home or home care, you might notice that there is just a significant uptick, especially with Venus's sextiles to the North Node. A lot of you guys have been realizing that time is money, right? Because we've had the Saturn sextile this Mercury retrograde. So there's a lot of reassessing. How much money am I spending? How much money am I charging? What is my salary? Do I need better benefits? And so Venus going through the 10th house is going to give you the opportunity to really kind of have much sweeter connections and harmony with relationships with people professionally, and it may kind of pave the way for you to be able to bring in more. So Jupiter will be going into your 8th house soon, and that is going to bring either an influx that's positive in your joint resources. A partner may get an inheritance. They might have money come out of the blue. It may also be that somebody says, hey, I want to give you a raise, I want to give you a bonus, or I want to invest in what you're doing. So really focus on nurturing and bringing more sweetness and, you know, like harmonizing with people out in the world professionally, because it's definitely going to help support the money that you're bringing in. And it can also radically change the way that you look at your job from an emotional or a psychological perspective. Venus trine Saturn also is going to give you more control over your health needs and over your relationships that you may have with like assistants or employees, or if you're hiring people to kind of help you do things. Saturn in the 6th can bring representatives, so people who can kind of like help you sell your work or put your work out there. It can also bring you people who want to help you really tune into getting organized or focusing on your health, okay? All right, Libra, let's see what the cards say for you. The card that I get for you is the Empress. I love this. I feel like this is about being the embodiment of the Empress out in the world and like really showing your like a different side of Venus, right? So this is what's so cool about having a Cancer midheaven, is that there's your appearance, the Libra rising of, you know, I come into this world, I focus on relationships and harmony and balance. And it can be also like a very masculine energy because this is an air sign. But your midheaven is Cancer, so it's about nurturing, loving, caring for things. So there can be much more focus on working with women, on mothers, motherhood, connecting to the responsibilities within like your home and your family zone. Watch for really prominent women who may come in, who might be able to kind of like help you. And if you're somebody who's really working on being able to present things and show what you've been creating or designing to the world, likely it will be very well received. Good luck, Libra. We've got we've got Scorpio. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. Almost said Cancer twice. We've got Scorpio rising. What's up, Scorpio? You're going to be having Venus make transits through your natal 9th house in the sign of Cancer. So obviously, Cancer is a fellow sister sign. So if you're a Scorpio sun, moon, or rising, you're really going to benefit from these aspects, especially Scorpio and Scorpio rising, because you have either your rising sign or personal planets here. So you will be really experiencing some of these grand water trines. So enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Water trines make us emotional, empathic, sensitive, and receptive. Venus is going to move through your natal 9th house. Okay, so the 9th house is going to be about travel, philosophy, education. It may be that you're planning a trip. It might be that you're going to a foreign land, especially anywhere where there's water. Venus rules your 7th house of relationships and partners, and it also rules your 12th house of private, hidden, and subconscious spaces. So I really like this transit for either going on a trip or a vacation with a significant other or planning one. I really like this trip also for looking for love abroad or looking for, connecting with somebody romantically in another place. I think this can give you the opportunity to start learning something or studying something that might be more so esoteric or spiritual in nature. It may bring like books that are about self-development. It may bring opportunities also to collaborate and talk to a partner more about what your goals are in regards to your home and where you want to live, especially if there's talk about moving or relocating. You might start looking at places that are further away. Because Venus has connections to the 12th house, this is why I really like the idea of you either traveling or studying something esoteric, because it's picking up the energy of what's hidden, what's private, what's subconscious. Now, if you've been needing a little bit of time away, if you can't quite swing a vacation, going to like a short retreat, meditation classes, learning something about spiritual healing and spiritual clearing, that can be really helpful for here as well. And Venus is also going to be making some trines to Saturn in your 5th house, where you're committing more to your creative projects, you're committing more to your heart space, focusing on commitment in your romantic life. So if you're somebody who's single and you're looking to meet somebody, with Venus trine Saturn and with Jupiter going into your 7th house, love seems to be right around the corner. And then later, when we get into the beginning of June, when Venus starts trining Neptune, that's really strong for romance and relationships. So you're going to see that really like the first week of June, where it just feels like something is coming together. It's just harmonizing. It feels very divine. There can be falling in love, saying I love you, making plans about future relationships, possibly even talking about marriage or further commitments. And that's pretty much it for you guys. I mean, you're also really benefiting from these sextiles to your 7th house, because Venus already rules relationships, and with Venus sextiling all these placements in the 7th, those of you guys who are single, if you take a class, you go on a trip, you expand your search optimization in terms of how far you're willing to look for love, you will meet someone. If you are, taking a course, or if you're hanging out at an airport, you will meet someone. Granted, Saturn's in your 5th, so they can be younger than you. That is possible, but there is still a connection that is brewing. And I get the Page of Cups again. I'm not surprised. So obviously Page of Cups, new emotional opportunities. So whether you're single or you're in a relationship, this is about just romance, nurturing, connecting, feeling inspired, feeling also very intuitive and dreamy. This is very dreamlike. And I think it's especially true with the trines to Neptune. So I think that there's a sense of what could life be? How sweet could life be? What could we do in the future? Where do we want to travel? Where do we want to live? And really allowing yourself to be in that place of being open and receptive to anything is possible in relationships. If you're not in one, this is about manifesting and getting very clear about what it is that you need, so you can really be prepared for some of the transits that are kind of coming in. Part of the lessons also with the eclipse right now that's setting up in Scorpio on the 5th is about this kind of like unloading. There's like an unloading happening for Scorpio and Scorpio risings, where it's like emptying the self and releasing the self and letting all of the past kind of hang-ups and all the sludge go. So you're creating more space to welcome the newness of relationships and partners in. So if you're having a difficult time with that, you know, the 7th house isn't just about romantic relationships. It's about your astrologer. It's about counselors, therapists, managers. It's people who come in to kind of help you find stability. So there can be some amazing people who pop in that can kind of help you have some breakthroughs and realize what it is that you really need in relationships and how to untangle some of the past so you can believe in love again, okay? Good luck, Scorpio. We've got Sag and Sag rising. What's up, Sag? We're going to have Venus going through the sign of Cancer in your natal 8th house, which can be sexy, right? It can be also deep and transformative. I mean, when planets go through the 8th house, it is going through this transformation before it sheds all of its skin, deals with all the skeletons in the closet, really kind of combats fear and says, okay, we've gone through the flames, now we're on to the next thing. So you're gonna really see this breakthrough once Mars and Venus get into Leo and it starts harmonizing with other placements in your chart. Now, Venus deals with obviously love and relationships, but it's connected to your 6th house, which is health, habits, and routines. It's also connected to Libra, which is about friends. So I wonder if this is going to be a transformation of your interpersonal relationships with other people by finding spaces where you can share with your friends some challenges that you're going through when it comes to your finances, when it comes to your family dynamics, when it comes to you know, your intimacy issues. It can be a wonderful time to be engaging in health detoxes, you know, supporting each other through better emotional or physical health, going to the gym together, you know, that kind of stuff, because it is picking up the energy of the 6th and the 11th. The word that comes to mind for me in Cancer 8th house is a profound change and transformation of the private home space. And so I can't help but notice that Venus is forming trines to Saturn and also the South Node. So there's something changing within the home base. There's something leaving the home base. So it can represent a deep cleaning out of the home space. It can represent somebody moving out or somebody moving away. It can really deal a lot with the karma relating to the mother. So like mother figures, grandmothers, transitioning sometimes or relocating can kind of come up. Venus in the 8th house does have its positives though. There is a lot of support that will come financially or emotionally from other people. So friends and workmates. So if you happen to go through a situation where you're like, yeah, you know, I'm moving and it's just stressful and like I don't want to say goodbye to my home, you're going to get support from that. If you are going through, you know, a tough time where there is a transition of an older female relative in the family, or a pet even, because Venus has connections to your 6th house, you're going to have support from friends and coworkers, and people are going to be like, take as much time as you need. If you need anything, please let me know. I'm here for you. Or I didn't know you were struggling with issues with your roommate or with your, you know, mother. Like, you know, do you want to talk about it? So there's opportunities to really practice being more emotionally vulnerable and sharing with other people so you can kind of flush some of this stuff out. You'll see this even more as Mars trines Neptune, and then when Venus comes in and it trines Neptune. So this might be something that plays all the way into June. Detoxes, purges, clears, all that stuff, clearings. I mean, this is what we want to work with. And if you need somebody to help you on an emotional or on a spiritual level, this is a wonderful time to work with somebody, because Venus in the 8th can be a healer or a spiritual person or a psychic or a medium that's like, yes, you know, I'm going to talk to you about the other side, and here's who's still kind of around you and here to support you. It can be beneficial for resources. You know, this is where we collect. So there can be a sense of you going, okay, it was worth the investments that I've been making at work, or the changes in my schedule, or the changes in my health, and now I'm starting to see the emotional or psychological shifts. Perhaps you're going to see more of the physical shifts over the next couple of weeks as planets get into Leo and they start trining your ascendant. So let's take a look and let's see what the cards have to say for you. The card that I get is the 4 of Wands. This is a great card. Homecoming, celebrations, harmony, family gatherings, reunions, stability, belonging. Okay, so awesome, especially with Venus trine Saturn. You know, can some of the things that bring you together with family be challenging? Yes, I'm going to say yes, I think so, because it's happening in houses that are water houses. So it can be, oh, we have the family reunion and, you know, we're seeing everybody, but, you know, one person is missing. Or, yeah, we're all coming together, but it's for a funeral. Or, but it's because somebody's, you know, divorced and like moving. And I'm not saying this to be like Debbie Downer. I'm just letting you know it is bittersweet. Venus is sweet. But the bitterness, I think, is going to come from actually from the trines to Saturn. So it's like, yes, people come together, but it's because people are having to come together to do some kind of work, right? So try to take the good with the bad. Know that these unions and things that are taking place are actually really wonderful. Enjoy this temporary sense of having everybody together in one place. Okay? Good luck, Sag. We got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. What's going on, Cappies? You have Venus going through the sign of Cancer in your natal 7th house of relationships. Ooh la la. This is a great aspect for you with this transit and the fact that it's opposing you, the fact that it's sextiling your 5th house. I love this. Venus is very happy in the 7th house of relationships. She is like home there. So when Venus enters into the 7th, there is a lot of action in relationships, which you're like, I've had enough of with Mars. But it's not as combative as the Mars transit. Venus brings the sweetness. So where there's maybe been a sense of more action and meeting people and socializing and being with family or what have you, Venus is going to bring kind of the smoothing over. So it will enhance existing relationships. It can bring in relationships for people who are single, but also more clients, more support, more assistance if you need it. Venus has connections to your 5th house, which is about romantic partners, children, playmates, having fun, and creativity. It also has connections to your 10th house of career and responsibility or public recognition. So can there be an opportunity to really focus on the relationship that you have maybe with creative collaborators? Yes. If you're in a business where you run it with a partner or you work side by side with a partner, it can be more harmonious. There can also be an enhancement going on of your relationships with family members, specifically like siblings, aunts, uncles, or cousins, because Venus is going to trine Saturn in your 3rd house. Now, if it's other relatives, it's enhancing the communication that you have with these people. So it's kind of like, hey, let's sort this out. Let's sit down and have a conversation. Let's talk about it. Or maybe you send them an email, they send you an email back, and you're able to have like much more smooth connections because Venus trine Saturn, which rules your chart, kind of suggests that you're able to kind of either make amends or find peace. Saturn in your 3rd house right now is significant. Being that Saturn rules your chart, it's shining a light on where sometimes saying less is more. There is a need to really think and really feel into things before you communicate. It wants you to focus on contracts, negotiations, and really being mindful of how you express yourself and where saying too much or saying nothing at all can get you into some trouble. Well, because Venus is going to make the trine, I could see you having a significant conversation with a relative, telling somebody you love them, committing to moving in together. There can also be really great communications with clients if you run a client-based business. We're also going to see Venus trine the South Node in Saturn. So there can be a sense of like you giving relationship advice to relatives, giving relationship advice to friends or vice versa, and them kind of talking to you or filling you in on what's going on with that in their life. Now, Venus ruling your 5th house of children makes me feel like there can be lots of opportunity for spending time with your kids, things changing with kids, where relationships are enhanced because of children, or you're focusing on your relationship with them. I'm really curious to see what happens because this is also dating and falling in love. So if you're a single Capricorn, both because of the Mercury retrograde, but also because I think of the transits going through your 5th house, it can really enhance the likelihood where you meet somebody, right? 5th house can be going to theaters, going to bars, going to creative places. Taurus might be about going out to dinners and going to art shows and exhibits and museums, and it might lead to a chance encounter where you meet someone. So your 5th and your 7th house of romance and commitment is definitely getting highlighted. I really encourage you guys to show up for love right now, right? To really be bold and take chances, because very soon Jupiter will move into your 5th house as well. This can also be conversations that you're having with partners about how you're feeling, commitments in relationships, or having children. And I do think you're going to get lots of recognition for some of the work that you're doing out in the world. Granted, more of that's going to come in the fall. You'll see that as we get into the eclipses in the fall and as planets are beginning to move through Libra in September and October. Let's take a look and see what the cards have to say for you, my Capricorns. The card that I get is the Knight of Pentacles. What did I say? It's going to be like it's going to be all the court cards today. So there's lots of other people involved, which is kind of expected with Libra, with Venus. So we've got the Knight of Pentacles. So that could be you, right? Because this is about the element of Earth. So it can be Capricorn, Virgo, or Taurus. Practical, reliable, stoic, slow and steady, hardworking, committed, conservative, pragmatic. Oftentimes Knights bring messages, or there's some action. So this can be about you being, in action, taking more action when it comes to what you love or your relationships. But I think this could also be about news in regards to money, resources, investments, finances, what you physically possess. So the 5th house might be what you create. The 7th house might be what you sell, the business that you're starting, the services that you offer, the people who come in that have an interest in that. So this is a really good time to be talking about, this is what I've created, this is what I'm selling, this is what I'm working on, this is what I'm prioritizing, and really opening yourself up to start showing other people what you have to offer. Okay, look for positive insights in regards to finances as well. Good luck, Capricorn. You got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You're going to be experiencing Venus transit Cancer in your natal 6th house of health and routine, habits, pets, the office, all that fun stuff. So first things first, Venus is not always the most comfortable in this part of the chart. Venus does bring sweetness, okay? But I'm especially thinking about early in May when Venus quincunx Pluto, there can be a sense of becoming aware of where there are some toxic habits and patterns and things coming up about what you can and cannot control. And it can be work related. It can just be related to whether or not you feel in control of your schedule, your routine, or your body. So if you're in need for some healing, I think Venus can bring some support. Venus has connections to your 4th house of home and family and your 9th house of faraway places, legality, and your belief system. So if you're looking for a representative or somebody to help you organize your home, redecorate your home, better take care of your animals, help move a parent, help fix or clean something up in your home, this is a great transit for that. Especially because Venus is going to trine Saturn. So is it going to cost you? Yes. Is it going to be quality work? Probably. So especially when it comes to signing deals involving real estate or, working through legal related issues or setting up estates or wills, that could be another thing. But Venus in the 6th house can bring some issues with relationships. So you're going to be one of the people who's going to want to watch for when Venus comes into a square with Chiron. And I think it's going to be about issues communicating with some of these relatives. Now, it can be siblings, right? And it can be things in regards to health. So if there's some health stuff going on with a parent, right? Because Venus rules your 4th. There's a lot of communicating back and forth with a sibling, and there can be some tension and some intense phone calls or text message exchanges. Venus and Mars being in your 6th house is basically saying it's time to get your house in order. So whether there's been conflict with the family or disorganization or people not really taking care of things, now Venus comes through and says, okay, let's clean it up, let's make it better, let's perfect it. So it can be a time where, after the storm, now you can kind of smooth things over and go, okay, how can we make this better? So family therapy can be something that can kind of come up here, and you may also have the opportunity to say, how can I help you? Rather than fighting and talking about the problem, how can I help you? And you might find that there is support. Now, on the flip side, it might be that relatives are helping you move, helping you clean out an office, Maybe they're helping you take care of a pet while you're, going through some, changes with your domestic zone, or helping you just, tend to your health, picking up your prescriptions, taking you to a doctor's appointment. That could be something else that kind of goes on here. A lot of this stuff should make sense because you've had a retrograde in your fourth. So like, it seems like family has been kind of like all over the place, or home is kind of changing. And then you've got this, which is going to be about kind of letting things settle and getting things organized. Venus's connection to your ninth house can be about family that are further away. So if there's been a sense of like trying to go and visit family, or having family visit you, if you have family that's relocating, it's like you're trying to help them, but you're like, how do I help them if they're not receiving the help? They're not listening. So I would say take a step back, just wait until the dust settles and things calm down a little bit. And when Venus trines Saturn, probably one of the best ways you can help is you can go, look, I can't be involved, but I can help you pay for it, right? Or I can give you some funds to help you with this transition, or, I can give you some of my time, but I cannot physically show up there because there's going to be some aversion to kind of getting involved. Let's take a look and see what the cards have to say for you. The card that I get is the Queen of Cups. How many of these have we pulled now? We're just missing the King of Cups, huh? So we almost got the whole water family, which is interesting because there's so many water trines. Okay, so this could be a Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Queens can be mothers, female figures, wives, sisters, compassionate, warm, caring, intuition, going with the flow, supportive, empathy, or a healer. I love Venus in the 6th house as being a healer, a new doctor, a new herbalist, a new massage therapist, somebody who comes in who's like, I've got you, what do you need? It could be as simple as somebody who makes a home call, right? It could be as simple as, just going and connecting with somebody who wants to talk to you about your emotional patterns and your emotional habits or your eating habits. Look for somebody to come in to help you with this. I really do think it's going to be a person for you. And if it's not a person, it's a relative who's wanting to help you work through some of these things and become more mindful of your emotional habits. Okay. Good luck, my Aquarians. And we have Pisces and Pisces rising. You will be experiencing Venus coming into a transit with your natal 5th house. So obviously Pisces, Cancer is a sister sign. So you're going to be experiencing some trines several times throughout this month. So it's going to be really beneficial for you. You'll see that mid-month in May and then the beginning of June. What can I say about Venus going through the 5th house? Venus loves it here. Okay, so you've had Mars there, which has probably been a little intense, or maybe you've been taking risks, or maybe you've been really creative, or your love life has been very active. And now you have Venus moving into this. This is creating more kind of sweetness and harmony. So you're really building off of Venus trine your ascendant. So you're making time for romance and participating in dating, or having playtime, or being creative, or spending time with younger people, and really focusing on making that your priority. You're going to see Venus that's going to trine Saturn in your sign. So there's a lot of opportunities to heal or protect yourself, to heal issues revolving around your love life, to heal inner child, to express yourself better, to have boundaries when it comes to love and relationships. You will also experience Venus trine Neptune. So you're going to kind of feel like, wow, it was worth the work. It was worth the waiting. It was worth the sacrifice. And it's allowing yourself to get lost in a hobby or something that you enjoy doing. I wonder if it's going to be about you going, well, I'm going to start writing more, or well, I'm going to start, focusing more on sharing or communicating or going on trips, just feeling more passionate in sharing some of your interests, and also really lighting up your love life. Like, romance can be a real thing these next couple of weeks with this transit with Venus in your 5th house. And at first with the trines to Saturn, it's like having those boundaries and getting to know someone. And then you might see as the weeks go on that you're like, wow, I'm really opening up to this person. Am I falling in love with them? Like, what's happening? Venus has connections to your 3rd house of communication, siblings, vehicles, and writing. And it also has connections to your 8th house of joint resources and, being vulnerable, being transparent with other people. I really love that some of the hobbies, like I said, can be writing, communicating, sharing, and you may be able to find that you can make money through kind of something that feels like you're just having fun or feeling inspired, but you're generating an audience and you're able to bring in more resources from this. But all of the creative realms really get kind of enhanced here. I'm loving that there's going to be sextiles to your 3rd house, and there's also going to be trines to your 9th house, so you're tapping into inner wisdom, I think, inner knowing, right? The 9th house is like bigger kind of spiritual and kind of heady topics, and the 9th house is more, the 3rd house is more simplifying them. So I could see a lot of you guys going, I'm going to teach a really complicated subject, but I'm going to make it simple. And I'm going to make it fun, and I'm going to make it enjoyable. And it might mean that you're talking about design or gardening or food or investing or resources, especially with the 5th house being tied to speculative. I could see a lot of you guys like reading more or learning more, taking courses on investing or finances, and that's something that you're doing as a hobby, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to take some risks. I'm going to see if my skills are paying off and if I can actually make something of this. So there's a lot of needing to listen to your intuition when it comes to creativity, children, love, and finances throughout this transit, and really enjoy some of the trines where Venus is going to be kind of giving you a wink as it's making aspects to your ascendants, the Saturn transit, and also Neptune. Let's take a look and see what the cards say for you. The card that I get for you is the 6 of Wands. So this is about victory, right? Being well received, people liking you, liking what you have to say, success, recognition, achievement, confidence, victory, award, prize, and praise and triumph. Okay, so people really liking what you're putting out there, and whether it's just you take a chance and you strike up a conversation with somebody and they're open to it, or you decide to start writing something or sharing something with the world and you're like, I'm just having fun and being creative, and people love it. Anything that you're working on looks like it's going to go very well, and it's also going to be very enjoyable. So you're finally starting to feel like things are kind of working in your favor. It is now in this period, and also Cancer and Scorpio season, when you see the trines to Saturn, that you're going to realize that some of the boundaries and the commitments to yourself that you've made over this last few months are going to pay off in your love life, especially. So if you've been more cautious, or you've been having boundaries, or you've been more guarded, now you're going to see that more quality people are coming through, and also that your dreams and your visions of the life that you've been trying to create and curate is finally starting to show up. Okay? Well, guys, I hope you love this Venus transit. I am really digging it. It's going to be a nice little sweet escape until we start getting into some of the fixed squares and some other things that are going to be taking place in June. So please enjoy this. Let me know how this transit plays out for you guys, especially if you're having a Venus return, or if you're having any of the trines that are playing out to your natal Venus. I would love to hear about that as well, about what's actually setting up and becoming more solid in your love life or in your finances. If you guys like my content, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Any interaction with the channel really helps me build this platform. It allows me to create this long format content for you guys that's high quality. I put a lot of work into it. We're a 2-person team. It's completely self-funded, so the more interaction we get, the more likely we can keep creating this content and bring you even more. You guys can catch me here later tonight. I'm going to be doing the lunar eclipse readings. I'm going to be doing live astrology readings this evening. So check out the community tab. I will post a link if you guys want to sign up. I'm not going to be doing it tomorrow because I don't want to do the readings on the eclipses. So yes, we changed days, but you know, it is what it is. So if you guys are feeling the heat and you guys want to ask some questions about this transit, please join me this evening. Otherwise, I'll be back on Sunday. And check out my links below if you guys want to go to my website at beyondtheveiledtarot.com to book a one-on-one session with me, or if you guys want to check out any of my astrology courses. If you want to learn how to practice astrology the way that I do, I've got 2 different levels that are available to teach you all about natal charts, and then also working with transits with my Astro 201 course. Okay, so until next time, I will see all of you guys very soon on Sunday. Happy eclipse, and hopefully it's a good one for all of us. I will see you all very soon. Take care.